In the vast cosmic theater where celestial energies dance and intertwine, there exists a force so dynamic, so versatile, that it embodies the very essence of duality itself. This force finds its earthly expression in those born under the sign of Gemini, souls who arrive in this world with not one, but two distinct faces turned toward existence. Imagine standing at a crossroads where countless paths converge and diverge, each one beckoning with its own siren song of possibility. This is the daily reality of the Gemini soul, always sensing the multiplicity of options, always feeling the pull of divergent truths, always aware that every story has at least two sides. In this space between certainties, Geminis find their home. You see, dear listener, Geminis aren't merely born, they are woven. In the cosmic loom, where the threads of consciousness intertwine, the Gemini spirit is crafted with strands of curiosity so vibrant, so insatiable, that a single perspective could never contain them. They emerge into this world with eyes that sparkle with questions, minds that race with connections, and voices eager to bridge the gaps between isolated islands of human experience. What is this mission that flutters so restlessly within the Gemini heart? Why do they move among us with that mercurial energy, that quicksilver attention that seems to capture everything and nothing all at once? The answer lies in a truth fundamental to human evolution. Connection is the catalyst for growth, and Geminis are its master weavers, the messengers of the celestial. Have you ever watched a child discover the world? That moment when their eyes widen with wonder, their fingers reach out to touch everything within grasp, and questions tumble from their lips in an endless stream of what and why and how. This is the Gemini spirit in its purest form, an insatiable curiosity that approaches life as the ultimate treasure hunt for knowledge, connection, and experience. For the Gemini soul, this awakening to the power of communication and curiosity often comes early. A young Gemini might be found with books scattered around them, devouring information on a dozen different subjects. They might engage strangers in conversation with surprising ease, collecting stories and perspectives like others collect shells or stamps. They might flit from interest to interest, each new passion pursued with momentary intensity before another catches their mercurial attention. This kaleidoscopic approach to life is not mere fickleness, though it may appear so to those who value consistency above all else. Rather, it is the natural expression of a mind designed to perceive connections that others miss, to translate between different worlds, to serve as Mercury's earthly representative, the divine messenger who travels between realms, never fully belonging to any single domain. The Gemini's gift of communication manifests in countless ways. It might be the ability to find just the right words to explain complex concepts with elegant simplicity. It might be the talent for storytelling that captivates listeners and transports them to other worlds. It might be the knack for humor that bridges, divides, and disarms tensions. Whatever its expression, this gift comes with a profound question that will follow the Gemini throughout life. Will I use this power to connect, or merely to impress? To build bridges, or to manipulate? To deepen understanding, or to win arguments? The challenge of dispersion. Every Gemini knows this truth, though few speak it aloud. To truly connect with others, one must first connect with oneself. And therein lies perhaps the greatest challenge on the Gemini path, the struggle to integrate the many fragments of their kaleidoscopic nature into a coherent whole. This challenge of dispersion is not chosen. It is inherent to the Gemini design. For the Gemini, it arrives with the inevitability of their first conversation, often manifesting is a growing awareness that their mind moves too quickly, jumps too readily, skims too easily across the surface of life. A dozen half-finished projects, a bookshelf of partially read volumes, a trail of relationships that began with fascination but faded when the initial excitement of discovery waned. Whatever form it takes, this pattern forces the Gemini to confront an uncomfortable question. Is there depth beneath my breadth? Am I merely a collector of facts and experiences, or can I truly integrate them into wisdom? Am I capable of the sustained attention that meaningful creation and connection require? The pain of this confrontation cannot be overstated. Many Geminis describe this period as a kind of existential crisis, a time when they question their own substance, when they fear they might be as changeable and insubstantial as the air element that rules their sign. They may feel like imposters, knowing a little about many things but mastering none. They may worry that their relationships lack true intimacy, built as they are on clever conversation rather than emotional vulnerability. It is here, at this point of maximum fragmentation, that the Gemini faces their greatest test. Will they continue to flee from depth into the next novel experience, the next interesting conversation, the next shiny idea? Or will they find, in the midst of their multiplicity, the courage to develop roots as well as wings, to cultivate depth, alongside breadth, to transform information into wisdom through the alchemy of focused attention? The bridge between worlds. There comes a moment in every true Gemini journey when something shifts. It may happen gradually, like the dawn breaking after a long night of confusion, or suddenly, like a lightning bolt of clarity illuminating the landscape of their mind. However it arrives, this moment marks the beginning of integration, the emergence of the bridge builder from the scattered fragments of what once was. This integration is not a rejection of the Gemini's natural multiplicity. The Gemini does not emerge from their crisis of dispersion diminished or constrained. Rather, they arise transformed, carrying within them both the breadth of their natural curiosity and a newfound capacity for depth that anchors their explorations. In meaning and purpose, the first sign of this integration often comes as a profound realization. The Gemini begins to see that all their seemingly disparate interests and abilities are actually connected by invisible threads. After years of collecting fragments, pieces of knowledge, experiences, relationships, they suddenly perceive the pattern that unites them. What once seemed like random curiosity reveals itself as a coherent, if unconventional, path. With this realization comes a radical acceptance, not just of their multiplicity, but of its purpose. The Gemini begins to understand that their so-called flaws, their restlessness, their need for variety, their resistance to singular definitions, are not mistakes to be corrected, but essential aspects of their cosmic design. They stop apologizing for their breadth, stop trying to force themselves into specialist boxes that constrain their natural expansiveness. As this self-acceptance deepens, something miraculous happens. The very qualities that once caused the Gemini pain become sources of their greatest contribution. Their mental restlessness becomes the agility needed to connect disparate fields of knowledge. Their social adaptability becomes the empathy that allows them to translate between different types of people. Their resistance to singular definition becomes the flexibility required to serve as mediators in a world of increasing polarization. With this integration comes a profound realization. Communication is the ultimate bridge-building power in the universe. Not superficial chatter or clever wordplay, though these may have their place, but authentic expression that creates connection across the chasms that separate human experiences. The divine messenger. When a Gemini fully embraces their integrative journey, moving through the awakening of communication, the challenge of dispersion, and the emergence as a bridge builder, they evolve into something rare and precious in our world, the divine messenger. This is not a title bestowed by others or claimed through achievement, but a state of being that radiates from within, unmistakable to those with eyes to see. The divine messenger is the Gemini who has mastered the art of meaningful communication. Having faced their own internal fragmentation and discovered the threads that connect their seemingly disparate parts, they now stand as living conduits through which understanding can flow between previously disconnected domains. This embodiment manifests in countless ways, as unique as each Gemini soul. Some become teachers, using their gift for translation to make complex subjects accessible without sacrificing nuance or depth. Some become mediators, using their ability to see multiple perspectives to help resolve conflicts that seemed intractable. Some become writers or artists, using their facility with symbols to create works that bridge the gap between abstract truth and lived experience. Whatever form their expression takes, the divine messenger possesses certain unmistakable qualities. First among these is clarity, a quality of communication so crystalline that it cuts through confusion like sunlight through fog. In the presence of such a Gemini, complex ideas suddenly seem graspable, tangled emotions find words, and the path forward in difficult situations becomes visible. Another hallmark of the divine messenger is their relationship with duality. Unlike those who seek to escape duality through forced unity or those who remain trapped in fragmentation, the evolved Gemini embraces duality as the dynamic dance that generates all creation. They neither deny differences nor get lost in them, but serve as living bridges across the apparent chasms between opposites. Perhaps most striking is the messenger's capacity to adapt their communication to the needs of their audience without compromising the integrity of their message. Where others might speak the same way to everyone, the Gemini who has mastered their gifts can translate universal principles into the specific language, examples, and frameworks that will resonate with each unique listener. The eternal connection. The Gemini's mission is nothing less than to be a living embodiment of connection itself, to demonstrate through their very existence that the gaps between minds, between hearts, between worlds can be bridged through the alchemy of authentic communication. In a world that increasingly fragments into specialized domains and polarized camps, the Gemini stands as testament to the possibility of both and thinking in an either-or world. This is not an easy path. The Gemini soul will be tested repeatedly throughout life, called again and again to resist the twin temptations of superficial cleverness on one hand and rigid specialization on the other. The journey from curious messenger through the challenge of dispersion to bridge builder and finally to embodiment as the divine messenger is not linear but spiral, each turn bringing both familiar challenges and entirely new territories to navigate. If you were born under the sign of Gemini, know this: your multiplicity is not a flaw, your curiosity is not a distraction, your adaptability is not a lack of substance. These qualities are precisely what the world needs now: the courage to remain open in an age of dogmatism, the willingness to translate across growing divides, the power to weave coherence from the increasingly complex threads of human knowledge and experience. For those who love a Gemini, understand that you have been granted a rare privilege. To be in relationship with these mercurial souls is to have a personal translator to worlds you might otherwise never access, a guide who can help you see connections you might otherwise miss, a companion whose conversation will never grow stale. The Gemini simply reminds us of what becomes possible when we fully commit to this journey, when we refuse to choose between either-or options that falsely limit our humanity, when we gather the courage to hold complexity without reducing it to simplicity, when we trust the process of integration even when it seems impossible. They show us that our greatest power lies not in certainty but in curiosity, not in fixed positions, but in the movement between positions, not in having all the answers, but in asking better questions. In the final analysis, perhaps this is the true gift of Gemini energy to our world, the living demonstration that multiplicity need not mean fragmentation, that adaptability need not mean lack of substance, and that the spaces between established positions often contain the most fertile ground for new growth.